100 years old, former U.S. President and Nobel Peace Laureate Jimmy Carter passed away on Sunday. Carter rose from humble beginnings in rural Georgia to lead the nation from 1977 to 1981. Carter had been in hospice care since mid-February 2023 at his home in the Plains, Georgia, the same small town where he was born and once ran a peanut farm before becoming the governor of the Peach State and running for the White House. Carter was the longest-lived U.S. president, an outcome that seemed unlikely back in 2015 when the Southern Democrat revealed that he had brain cancer. However, the U.S. Navy veteran and fervent Christian repeatedly defied the odds to enjoy a long and fruitful post-presidency after 4 years in the Oval Office. The White House, in fact, the U.S. flag at the White House appeared at half-mast in tribute to the former U.S. president. The American flag was also lowered to half-staff on Capitol Hill following the announcement. Jimmy Carter's 1977 to 1981 presidency included successes like the Camp David peace accords, but also enough controversies for the U.S. voters to see him as weak and send him packing after only one term. Carter's legacy, however, was largely built on his post-presidency this was the longest in the U.S. history. Up next on your screens, we'll get to important moments of Carter's career. The Panama Canal. Carter signed treaty with Panamanian leader Omar Torrijos on September 7, 1977. Morality in politics. Upon his arrival in the Oval Office, Carter placed human rights at the heart of his agenda. Carter signed the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights in 1977. The Camp David Accords. In September 1978, on Carter's initiative, Camp David Accords were signed between Israeli Premier Menachem Begin and Egyptian President Anwar Sadat in his presidential retreat in Camp David for peace between Israel and Palestine. Crisis of confidence. In the summer of 1979, his 5 cabinet members resigned when the economy was rocked by inflation and his approval rating in free fall. He also said in July 15 that his nationwide television speech that it was a moment of national crisis, of confidence in the future of America. Iran hostage crisis. The hostage crisis, more than 50 Americans were held for 444 days at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran from November 1979 to January 1981. The military rescue mission was failed and Secretary of State Cyrus Vance resigned. The Carter Center. In 1982, he founded the Carter Center, which has focused on conflict resolution, promoting democracy and human rights, and fighting disease. Carter traveled extensively, supervising elections from Haiti to East Timor and tackling thorny global problems as a mediator. Next was the Elders. Carter was also a member of the Elders, a group of former world leaders founded by Nelson Mandela in 2007 to promote peace and human rights. Reactions have been pouring in since the announcement of Jimmy Carter's demise, but his deeds, Jimmy Carter embodied simple decency. Says Biden, America and the world have lost a remarkable personality. Also, incumbent U.S. President Joe Biden delivered his remarks expressing condolences over Carter's death. In his remarks on Sunday, he stated former President Jimmy Carter stands as a model of what it means to live a life of meaning and purpose.
The entire Carter family, on behalf of the world, the whole nation, we send our whole heartfelt sympathies and gratitude. Our gratitude for sharing President Carter with us for so many years. You know, Jimmy Carter stands as a model of what it means to live a life of meaning and purpose, a life of principle, faith, and humility.
While U.S. President-elect Donald Trump paid tribute to former President Jimmy Carter following the announcement of his death on Sunday, saying, I quote, "The challenges Jimmy faced as president came at a pivotal time for our country, and he did everything in his power to improve the lives of all Americans. For that, we all owe him a debt of gratitude." Various world leaders have taken to social media platform X to express grief over Jimmy Carter's demise. European Parliament President Roberta Metsola and French President Emmanuel Macron, Ukrainian President Zelensky were among the European leaders expressing their sadness, along with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer sending condolences to Carter's family in his social media post. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban also wrote that his country will always cherish Carter's memory. Latin American leaders, including Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel and Panama's President José Raúl Mulino also expressed condolences along with governments of Peru and Venezuela. In their messages, the leaders emphasized Carter's dedication to democracy, acknowledging his contribution to the region during and after his presidency. All right, our correspondent Amit Mukherjee is joining us to get us more. Amit, we've got detailed background to Jimmy Carter and his presidency. It was the human and moral values that he always vouched for. But then one important aspect of his personality was his connect with India. Get us more on that.
Well, in fact, Preeti, the relationship between India and US, it was the high point. The high point was reached during President Carter's, tenure. In fact, his visit in 1978, 1st of January, when he had come to India, he had emphasized, the relationship, how to strengthen the relationship between the two democracies. In fact, he had tremendous faith, and he was highly moved, immensely moved by India. Again, because of the fact that his mother, Lillian, she served in India as a Peace Corps nurse, in the 60s. So in fact, he stressed a lot on the Indian values, India's moral and the democracy with both the countries shared. In fact, on 1st of January 1978, he addressed the crowd also at the Ramlila Maidan in New Delhi, where he also talked about how both the countries should strengthen the relationship, and the world should also learn from the friendship and the consultations which the two countries have been engaging in. Because again, he had immense faith in the world's largest democracy, which was, of course, India, which he acknowledged in his speech. In fact, he also visited, a village in Gurugram, where his mother had also served as, again, the Peace Corps nurse in the 60s, and that village is today named as Katapuri. And this village has been having a long-standing relationship with the White House ever since Jimmy Carter had visited India in 1978. In fact, and it goes back, that on 3rd of January every year, this particular village remembers Mr. Carter's visit, and they celebrate. They have been celebrating every moment, and in fact, it's also a sad day for that village people, for those village people who had who had a long-standing relationship with the US because of President Carter's visit to India in 1978 during the tenure of Morarji Desai, who was the Prime Minister of India at that time. Preeti?
All right, Amit, thank you for joining in with those details.